Our topic for week 4 is running records, which were developed by Mari Clay. A running record is a standardized process for coding, scoring, and analyzing a student's precise reading behaviors. This week in our text, you are reading Chapter 11 and watching all of the videos found on Moodle. I'm going to tell you right up front that taking a running record of a child's reading behavior requires time and practice, but it's well worth the effort. When taking a running record, you are not only documenting a student's reading behaviors to analyze and reflect on, but also for sharpening your observational skills and your understanding of the reading process. The running record informs not only the selection of an appropriate book, but the specific emphasis that you want to get across to the readers. In Figure 11.1 in our text, there are several purposes of running records that are listed. For example, a running record allows you to group and regroup for instruction. Select appropriate text for the students. Inform teaching decisions during the reading of a new book, and inform your teaching decisions after reading. And this is just to name a few. Now, a running record does not use pre-typed text on the running record form. A running record has a blank form, and you make check marks on the page in the exact layout of the text. A reading record does use a pre-typed text. This is what is used in Leveled Literacy Intervention Programs, or LLI, which were developed by Fountas and Pinnell. Again, a running record you can use any sheet of paper for, because you're making the check marks on the blank part in the exact layout of the print. When taking a running record, the teacher sits beside the student while the student reads. Usually, a running record is taken on a book that the student has read once before. It's probably the new book from the previous day's guided reading lesson. Watch the student closely as he reads, coding behaviors on your running record form by making a check mark for words read accurately. If the student makes an error, you're going to make a line on the running record form. What the student said goes above the line, and the actual text and teacher actions go under the line. This is shown in Figure 11.2 on page 259 of our text. Now, during the running record, if a child gets to a tricky part, they might turn and look at you. You can only say, "You try it." During the running record, you are a neutral observer. You cannot intervene in the reading. You cannot tell a child to sound out the word. There is no instruction. If a child looks to you for help, you can say, "You try it." If the child just sits there and does not make any attempts, tell them the word so they can go on. But just remember, there's no instruction. After the coding, make sure to note how the reading sounded. For example, did the child read word by word? Were there 2 or 3 word fluent phrases? Did the child read fluently? Next, you have a very brief conversation about the meaning of the book and you're going to make a teaching point and a praise point. The praise point is something that the child did well during the reading. For example, I like how you went back and reread that sentence so it made sense. A teaching point is what the child needs to learn next. For example, if the student read the text and only used visual sources of information for that attempt, you could reread it exactly the way the child read it, and then say, try that again and think what would sound right. You would be prompting for the student to use another source of information, and that source would be structure. Next is scoring the reading quantitatively. Figure 11.2 provides coding and scoring errors at a glance. The last column in Figure 11.2 shows a summary of how to score each error. Once the errors and self-corrections are counted, you need to determine the accuracy level for the reading. On pages 260 and 261 are the formulas used. There are also many apps that are available on the App Store that will figure this information for you. Fountas and Pinnell also sell a Fountas and Pinnell calculator/stopwatch that will calculate the accuracy, the self-correction, and the reading rate. So now we have this quantitative data. Now what? So now we have to look at the qualitative analysis of the reading. You are thinking about how the reading sounds, reviewing any notes about how the reader understood the text based on your brief comprehension conversation after the reading of the text. For the qualitative analysis, you are looking for evidence of the reader's use of sources of information and also uses of strategic action. The sources of information are meaning, structure, and visual, or MSV. When you look at the errors, and you're wondering, did the child use meaning, structure, or visual? Ask yourself this question. Does the attempt make sense? Did the child use the picture or illustration in making that error? If so, the student uses meaning. If structure were used, ask yourself, does the attempt sound right? Is the syntax correct? If visual information were used, ask yourself, does the attempt look visually similar to the actual text? Visual does not refer to use of the illustration or picture. It's does the attempt the child made look visually similar to the actual text? When you are analyzing errors, you are thinking about whether the attempt makes sense up to and including the error. Now, for each incorrect attempt or self-correction, the letters MSV are all three written in the error column and the self-correction column as appropriate. If meaning influenced the error, the M is circled. If structure influenced the error, S is circled. If visual information influenced the error, the V is circled. So let me say this again. When you are analyzing, you write all three letters MSV because you're analyzing the sources of information used by that student. Why do we analyze? Well, the analysis allows you to look for patterns in the student's reading. The analysis provides evidence of what the child has under control, your praise point, and what the child needs to learn next, the teaching point, what you need to teach in the next guided reading lesson. There are several completed running record examples in Chapter 11. Be sure to look over these as well as the videos provided on Moodle. Are you going to be a professional at this right in the beginning? Absolutely not. To become proficient at coding and analyzing takes a great deal of practice, but once you've learned how, it is a quick, practical, and highly informational tool. So just remember, you're not going to be a professional. This is not an easy assignment this week. Do your best. That's all we can do. Thank you.